This is a course proposal for graphic novels, reading and telling stories through images. This course will be a great opportunity for Lakeland students to explore a new genre of literature, or perhaps a genre that they're already familiar with, while at the same time getting continued exposure to basic reading skills and literary interpretation skills. Things like character analysis, setting, point of view. We'll take a look at some popular graphic novels that deal with historical events like Maus and Persepolis, and also take a look at some of the most popular classic comics like Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman. So what is a graphic novel? A graphic novel is sequential pictorial narratives which use text in a complementary manner in which these creative elements engage continuously, one with the other, to create plot, character, setting, meaning, and theme. This definition comes from Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, which I'm proposing as the textbook for this course, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later in the presentation. This is an example of a page from the graphic novel Maus by Art Spiegelman. It's one of the most famous graphic novels, and I included it in this presentation so you can see what the students are going to be reading and what kind of skills I'm going to be asking them to apply as they work to decipher image and text together. Spiegelman has cleverly crafted this story allegorically, with mice representing the Holocaust victims and cats as the Nazis. The story takes place in the present, with Spiegelman's father telling him about his experience as a Jew in a concentration camp, and contains flashbacks so that the reader can actually see, in a very literal sense, Morty's experiences. This page depicts the mice digging their own graves and being burned alive. So in addition to the powerful text, the accompanying images serve to elicit a visceral reaction from the reader. Students will quickly see the marriage of these two art forms and notice that it creates a very powerful way to tell a story. So here is a little bit more about the course itself. In this course, as in the study of traditional text-based forms of literature, students will work to develop an understanding of elements like point of view, narrative structure, characterization, conflict, setting, tone, and theme. In addition, this course will teach students how to blend additional complex visual components such as color, perspective, light, and frames. Students will be taught to reconcile these two types of expression and be able to understand how one continually influences the other. It's my belief that this course will be of great interest to students because graphic novels are increasing in popularity in this very geek-chic cultural climate in which we're living. It has suddenly become very popular and even cool to be a nerd or to be offbeat. It is the era of the hipster and raging against the mainstream. Comics have always been an outlet for people of this type of mindset. They often mock society and celebrate loners. Think Peter Parker. It also provides an escape from the many pressures teens face and gives them an opportunity to live in the world of the Dark Knight and vigilantes, if only for a brief moment. In addition to the genre itself being something that is relevant of interest to students, this course also incorporates 21st century learning styles. Students always have an expectation of a visual component in everything that they do. Lectures are expected to be accompanied by PowerPoints. News articles almost always have a video or at least a picture attached to them. And adults have this expectation as well. When we show up to meetings, we show up with the expectation that we will see something as well as hear or read it, which is exactly the reason for this presentation. Turning in a sheet of paper with words does not excite people, and it does not fully accomplish its goal. A visual component is almost always necessary in getting an audience to fully understand your meaning. This class will incorporate multimedia. It will ask students to read, write, draw, and use technology to collaborate and create. The course will incorporate higher order thinking skills. It won't be a place where students are merely doodling characters with bubbles coming out of their mouths. They will be asked to justify and explain artistic decisions. For instance, why is a certain character's hair red? Or why did you use warm colors for this panel? They'll be asked to spend a significant amount of time planning perspective and word choice, and how they will accomplish things like flashbacks, and how that differs from the way authors do it in a traditional storytelling format without images. I do want to spend just a moment talking about the textbook, which is Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. The author of the textbook, Scott McCloud, inserts himself into the story by creating an image of himself that explains the art of comics by creating a comic of himself. He explains how different artistic styles create a different effect on the story. He explains why abstraction is such a powerful tool, allowing readers to see themselves in something as simple as a smiley face symbol. He also explains to the reader different kinds of shots, like close-ups, medium shots, and established shots, and the effect that they can have on a story. Students will be asked to apply those concepts to their own work. So in closing, and just to recap some reasons and benefits of this new course, this is an additional academic elective opportunity for students. English is a tested area. They will be asked to apply these concepts on the park. This course is going to hone students' skills in interpreting symbols, characterizations, and things like point of view. There's already a group of students who you can find sitting in the corner of the media center engrossed in a graphic novel that are drawing in their sketch pads in the lunchroom, just waiting for a chance to share their enthusiasm and creative ideas with others. Art classes are so popular among Lakeland students that we've recently had to hire an additional art teacher to accommodate the student demand for more classes. This will fulfill that need, plus give students the added benefits of an English class. Lastly, and most importantly, this class will give students the opportunity to be creative. The only challenge I see for this course is the startup cost. Graphic novels can be expensive. However, my solution is to build our collection up slowly. There are many resources that we can take advantage of that are online. Several older classic comics are readily available for us to analyze. In addition, I've included a link that lists 6 free websites that students can use to create their own comics. Students would be able to not only draw with pencil and paper, but also utilize their Chromebooks or iPads to create their stories. Lastly, another great resource I found is a podcast called Art and Story. This podcast is a series of 196 episodes and answers questions that novice artists and writers ask themselves, like how do you make a comic book? How do you build one from the ground up? The hosts describe their process for creating a comic in a way that students would be able to adopt those techniques into their own process. This is exactly what the course will be attempting to teach. Again, this podcast is free. Lastly, the 4 proposed texts are Understanding Comics, which I've already discussed, Maus, which was just touched upon, and again is the story of a Holocaust survivor, Persepolis, a coming-of-age story of a young girl growing up in Iran during and after the Islamic Revolution. That novel deals with Satrapi's struggle with her personal and cultural identity and Iran's political issues. And lastly, The Dark Knight, which would round out our collection of shorter superhero comics that we would be exploring throughout the year. Thank you for taking the time to view and listen to my presentation.